though I speak with the tongues of men and of angels. Hello and welcome back to the channel. It's lovely to be back. Forgive me my many absences. I'm not saying there won't be more, there will be. But yeah, I'm a person who a little bit enjoys technology, but not a lot. So yeah, I tend to stay away from it because then I can get really into it. And that's not a good thing. It can become an idol. And the only way to put the spirit behind the idol to bed is to get rid of the idol completely. Literally, Yahuwah showed me that. Literally. But yeah, that's right. Every now and again, I toss the baby out with the bathwater. Anyway, while I was having my alone time with Yahuwah, he showed me something. He shows me a lot of things. He often does. I can't even lie. Let's go to Genesis 11, verses 6 and 7. And Yahuwah said, Behold, the people is one, and they have all one language, and this they begin to do, and now nothing will be restrained from them, which they have imagined to do. Go to, let us go down, and there confound their language, that they may not understand one another's speech. Okay, this is why I'm just going to go off on like a small tangent. Well, I always encourage people to always ask him yourself if you know something or if you want to know something, and always write down your dreams, because even if you don't understand them now, chances are that if you keep asking and you keep away from sin and grow in your relationship with Yahuwah, you will one day. Anyway, I had an epiphany of sorts. It's something I've been wondering about and even sort of sitting on in terms of things I suspect and want to do or want to know. But while fasting from the technology, I was able to hear a lot clearer, and things that used to hide behind a familiar image lost their ability and their disguise. I'll tell you about that later maybe. Or we'll talk about that at some point maybe. Anyway, we'll talk about closing the eye gate also in another video. Anyway, have you ever wondered about languages? I mean, like, the powers behind languages. Well, as a person who Yahuwah has seriously gifted with a gab and the ability to comprehend and apprehend languages very well, I often wonder about these things. I know, the places my mind goes. Let me just tell you why. So, as far as language goes, I've learned or poked my nose into many languages, several Latin and Germanic because they're very close to English and they're most comfortable. But I've also loved other things like Mandarin. It's one of my favorites. Hebrew, of course, it's my roots. Some Niger-Congo and Bantu, like Twi and Swahili. Some Slavic languages because they're oddly familiar without being Latin or Germanic. It's fascinating. And Hindi because it has just a cool rhythm. Now, I say all this to bring about a point, so please bear with me. Many of these languages have similar roots, coming from Proto-Indo-European, even if they're not actually European in geography. With some of these languages and acquiring the knowledge of them, I've had spiritual troubles though. Not for lack of ability, I'm perfectly capable of retaining knowledge. The trouble comes from the spirit over the language. Yes, you heard me correctly. Now, I didn't realize this at first. Some of these languages I've known most of my life, but the facts became apparent while I was learning Hindi. And only because I know quite a lot about its root and some of the spiritual practices in India, which one day we'll talk about. For information about the words India and all that, please go to Names Part 4. You should watch it before you even watch this because you might need it. I mean, I needed it. I don't know what it is about India, but it's always fascinated me. Something about how old it is and the unworldly knowledge they managed to acquire centuries ago. Now, don't be deceived. They were all idolaters, pagans. They were doing evil, clearly. Anyway, Hindi helped me to realize the connection between language, people, and spirits that govern its speakers. Meanwhile, Brazil taught me about territories. Another story for another day. While learning Hindi, I began to experience some spiritual warfare, and of course, I needed answers, though I didn't realize at first where the warfare was coming from. Now, we have to really, really be aware. I'm just telling you, the more I learn, the more I realize we really do perish for a lack of knowledge, because we're so unaware of things. If we were aware, our lives would just be easier. We could say no, or we could just avoid things completely, but lack of knowledge. Anyway, I often wondered whether it could be from learning Hindi, because the dreams I'd be having, they were like weird. I was always dreaming things connected to India or Hinduism. What really assured me that my troubles may have been coming from the acquisition of a new knowledge or a new tongue was this. Jasher chapter 9 verses 31 to 33. And they built the tower and the city, and they did this thing daily until many days and years were elapsed. And Yahuwah said to the 70 angels who stood foremost before him, to those who were near to him, saying, Come, let us descend and confuse their tongues, that one man shall not understand the language of his neighbor. And they did so unto them. And from that day following they forgot each man his neighbor's tongue, and they could not understand to speak in one tongue. And when the builder took from the hands of his neighbor lime or stone, which he did not order, the builder would cast it away and throw it upon his neighbor, that he would die. And then that reminded me of this. Jasher chapter 48 verses 44 to 47. And it was their custom throughout the land of Egypt that every man who came to speak to the king, if he was a prince or one that was estimable in the sight of the king, he ascended to the king's throne as far as the 31st step, and the king would descend to the 36th step and speak with him. If he was one of the common people, he ascended to the 3rd step, and the king would descend to the 4th and speak to him. And their custom was moreover that any man who understood to speak in all the 70 languages, he ascended the 70 steps, and went up and spoke till he reached the king. And any man who could not complete the 70, he ascended as many steps as the languages which he knew to speak in. And it was customary in those days in Egypt that no one should reign over them, but who understood to speak in the 70 languages. Okay, back in the day, in Jasher days anyway, there were 70 official languages and possibly 70 nations, one speaking each language. According to Jasher, also, when I say nations, I don't mean countries and territories. I mean bloodlines or families that developed during that time. Okay, so like I was saying, according to Jasher, there were also 70 angels who stood in front of Yahuwah, and when he decided to change the language of the humans to stop them from having evil communications with each other, those same 70 angels descended with Yahuwah to help him do so. Now, it made me think about the things I'd seen during my time learning Hindi and the spiritual warfare it commanded. It occurred to me that I may be fighting a principality or a power or an angel or some type of spiritual being. I was having warfare with a spirit over the right to use this tongue or language. Just the way we must go through customs to enter a country or have an impressive resume in order to get a particular job, I presume that we must in some way have the right to even use languages and tongues. The fact that some of my other languages came earlier in life, before I was truly aware of the fact that life is spiritual, means I missed out on the possible encounters I may have had. Or maybe I had no encounters at all, since English is Germanic and some parts Latin. It's the mix of two things, so I may have naturally been under the spiritual authority of both. Or maybe there's a spiritual authority that developed from the combination of both roots. Yah knows, I don't. Now, I have no proof that this is true, but only that it's an occurrence in my life, and at the moment I put Hindi down, the warfare stopped. But that as soon as I engaged with the language, it begins again. It's particularly with this language, though. Again, some of my other languages I learned, knew, or began learning at a time when I wasn't fully aware of spiritual matters, so maybe I had engaged in spiritual warfare, but chalked it up to something else. In fact, come to think of it, I think maybe Russian had some warfare behind it. Russian gave me quite a bit of strife as well. I'll save that for a different tangent, though. Anyway, this was sort of one big tangent, and it's mostly speculation, nothing I can concretely prove. But based on my own experience, this is a thing, a real thing. Anyway, sorry to take up so much time, and sorry for no concrete evidence, but for those of you out there who speak multiple languages of different origins, leave your comments down below. I'd love to know if this ever happened to you. Did you experience any spiritual warfare while learning? Have your languages ever seemed to affect your spirituality? Have they ever affected your walk with Yahuwah? Yah forbid. Well, that's enough speculation for one video. Make sure you're praying, reading, and living apart from the ways of the world. But until next time, Hallelujah.